If you want more sound out of your 2009 to 2018 Hemi-powered Ram for the least amount of money possible, then this 3-inch muffler delete pipe will be for you. It's the perfect way to get more of that trademarked Hemi rumble out of your truck without having to pay or install a full exhaust system. On our loudness meter, we're going to give this one a pretty strong 3 out of 5. It does nearly as much heavy lifting as a full catback exhaust system, just without the cost. Before we dive in too deep here, I wanted to take a quick moment to note that this is designed to fit 2009 to 2018 5.7 liter Hemi power Rams that are equipped with the factory dual exhaust. If you've spent any time shopping online, you know there is no shortage of exhaust choices for any gen of Ram 1500. However, those can get expensive, so if you want the additional sound without having to pay the price of a full exhaust, this is a great way to make that happen. Now this is designed to bolt right in place of your factory muffler, and it's going to keep the rest of the system intact. It's the same diameter too, 3 inches in, 2.5 inches on the outlet side. So this is going to look and function just like stock, only it's going to be louder. Now as you heard from the clips at the start of the video, this really opens up the Hemi's lungs and it lets it breathe. You get more of that characteristic muscle car rumble, the deep lopey idle, and more yowl as the revs climb. There will be no mistaking what your truck has under the hood, because once this is installed, you're going to be left with only those 2 little resonators at the very end of the system right before the tips. This will also allow for better exhaust flow versus stock because it is less restrictive. So though it's not going to suddenly give you a ton of power, you can expect some gains in response and power over stock. Now more noise on the outside of course means it's also going to be louder inside of the cabin of the truck too. Now that's not to say this is going to rattle your eardrums though. You'll get more of that excellent V8 soundtrack, but you'll still be able to listen to your favorite songs or hold a conversation without having to crank up the volume of the stereo or your own voice. The piping is made from TIG welded T304 grade stainless steel, so when it comes to construction, this is about as good as it gets. This material is very resistant to rust and corrosion, so especially if you live in a place where it snows or they use salt on the roads, this should last you a good long while. Plus it comes with the extension pipe, also in T304 stainless, and you get the clamps and hangers you need for an easy installation. The price might just be the best part here though, as this is only going to run you about $175, and that makes it pretty much the most affordable way to get more sound out of your truck. It doesn't have all the full fanciness or all the features of a big old catback exhaust, but it costs so much less that it almost doesn't matter. And I'm a big fan of anything that makes a truck sound good for such a palatable price tag. Installation will get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you about 1 hour to complete. This again is designed to be a totally bolt-on installation process, so you don't need to cut or make any permanent modifications to your truck or its stock exhaust system. And you get everything you need to get it installed right here in the box, including the clamps and the extension pipe that you need. So we're going to head on out to the shop now and we'll walk you through that install process.
For this install, you will need an impact, 13, 14, and 15 millimeter sockets, hanger removal tool, a dead blow mallet, some lubricant, and also not shown here is a pole jack or jack and jack stands. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing an exhaust on our Ram, but before we get started we're going to send you to watch a quick video on how to remove your factory setup, and we'll see you when you get back.
We have to remove our factory system. That includes pulling both tailpipes on either side of the truck as well as the factory muffler. We're going to unbolt the tailpipes from the muffler first using a 15 millimeter socket. That's going to allow us to pull the tailpipes off of the rubber isolators. All right, now that we have those 2 tailpipe clamps loosened on the muffler, we're going to go ahead and pull the tailpipes from the isolators. Once the tailpipes are pulled from the rubber isolators, that's going to give us enough leverage that we can kind of wriggle them out from the muffler itself, and then we can actually pull our muffler. All right, now that we have our driver's side tailpipe removed, we're going to do the same thing for the passenger side. The passenger side only has one hanger up here, makes it a little bit easier on us. All right, next we have to loosen the clamp securing our muffler to our flow tube here. That's also going to be a 15mm socket. With the clamp holding our muffler loosened, we're going to spray down our last 2 rubber isolators, and then we're going to pull the muffler from our mid-pipe. Now, if any of those rubber isolators are giving you a hard time, you can actually knock the muffler loose from the clamp that you loosened using a dead blow mallet. That'll give you enough leverage to pull it out of the rubber isolator.
Alrighty guys, so now that we have our factory system off, we can begin installing our new setup. Now this is just going to be a muffler delete, but it is still easier to remove the tail section of the vehicle for this. So what we're going to do first is grab our extension pipe and our clamp. You want to get that over your slip joint just so you don't forget it. Get that on. We'll get this lined up. So now we're going to snug this clamp down with our 14mm socket. We're just going to keep it snug for now to hold it in place. Now we're going to get our Y-pipe in place. So once again, we'll grab our clamp, slide that over our slip joint. We're going to set this loosely on our extension pipe. We are not going to tighten this down at all just yet. Next, we're going to get our dual hanger clamp in place. Now you want this to go in the same orientation as our factory muffler. So if you remember, the driver's side goes in the upward position, passenger side is downward. So we'll get this in the isolators first. Get this through. This is going to help us set our positioning. This is a little bit tricky to line up at first. Once you get that first one on, the second one should be a little bit easier. So now we're going to get our factory outlets back in place. So we'll start with our passenger side. So we're going to send this over our axle. You want to get this lined up with your factory isolator as well as your slip joint for our muffler delete. Slide that all the way in. Now we'll get this clamp tightened down, again with our 14mm socket. Now we can get our driver's side outlet back in place, so we're going to send this over our axle, get our hangers lined up with our isolators. Now this one is a little bit more tricky with the 2 of them, but with proper lubrication should be fine. You also want to line up your slip joint again. We'll have to adjust for that one. Now we'll get this one in place. Set that as far in as it'll go. Now we'll tighten down our outlet clamp. Now we'll come in and tighten down our muffler inlet clamp. Then we'll fully tighten down our extension pipe clamp. Then we can install our tips. Now we'll get our tips back on, so we'll set these back on their ball flares. Tighten this down with your 13mm socket. You can get it pretty snug first and then do your final adjustments. Then you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our 3-inch muffler delete pipe for your 09 to 18 5.7 liter Hemi Ram 1500 with factory dual exhaust. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.